welcome to this edition of Tried and Tested, and in today's video I'm going to talk to you about lines. I've got 3 lines that I'm going to talk to you about, each of which I've used over a period of time, so this is going to be a bit of an honest review really about what I found to be the good and the bad of each of these lines. So let's get into it. So the first line I'm going to talk to you about today is the ESP Syncro Loaded XT. Just a bit of information about this line. It's about 20 quid a spool. It comes in breaking strains of 10, 12, 15 and 18 pound. But the version that I'm going to talk to you about today and review is the 15 pound version, which has a line diameter of 0.37 millimeters. So what's good about this line? Well, to be honest, this has been my go-to line for quite a few years, and it's only kind of in the recent past 12 months to 18 months that I've been kind of trialling other lines. It's been super reliable. I've landed cats to over 90 pounds on it. I've landed carp to over 57 pounds on it. It really is super strong, super abrasion resistant, and just kind of, you know, brilliantly reliable. If you've got a fish on, this stuff ain't going to give way. It's also it sinks really nicely, so you can get a really nice line lay with it. And something that I always look for in a line, might sound a bit strange to people, is the colour. And you know, some people say, well, colour doesn't matter with line. Personally, it's just a confidence thing. I like the line to kind of at least look similar to the colour of the lake bed I'm fishing on. And what's nice about the Loaded is it seems to kind of match in with a wide variety of lake beds. So it's a really good all-rounder from that point of view. I think the other thing to mention, and to be honest, this is probably the same for most lines nowadays, is it loads up on the spool really nicely. And I've not had any frap up issues with it, so from that perspective as well, it's been brilliant. So you're probably thinking, well, why have I even been exploring other lines? And the truth is that it does come with a couple of downsides. One being that it is quite prone to line twist. You know, we've all had it where you've kind of landed a fish or whatever, and all of a sudden you find that the line's coiling up or it's wrapping around the tip of your rod. And unfortunately, this is kind of one of the downsides of using this line. Quite often after I've caught a fish, I'll be stripping off a couple of rod lengths just to kind of avoid that happening. And I think the second kind of downside of this line is it does become quite wiry. It's not a major issue, I wouldn't say, and as soon as you've wetted the line and it's had a chance to absorb a bit of water, it goes beautifully supple again. But you know, those first few casts, it can feel a bit wiry, which is a bit of a shame. So that is the ESP Syncro Loaded XT. So the next line I'm going to be talking to you about is the Avid Outline Camo. Again, a bit of information about this line. It's about 25 quid a spool, and it comes in breaking strains of 10, 12, 15 and 20 pound line. And the version that I'm going to be talking to you about today is the 15 pound version, which has a line diameter of 0.33 millimeters. So what's good about this line? I think the first thing to mention is it's got a really nice camo pattern on the line, and that makes it invisible in water, and I mean invisible. I struggle to see this stuff off the tips of my rods. It's in terms of concealment, it's brilliant. It has like a really nice kind of smooth, waxy feel to it, and that I think helps in the fact that it just casts really well. It also sinks pretty well. Not had any issues with it kind of floating at all, and like I mentioned about all other lines, it loads onto the spool really nicely. And there's a couple of big buts about this line. The first one is I've suffered quite a few crack-offs with this line. And the last thing I want to be doing is firing out live rigs into the lake and not being able to retrieve them. I think, you know, in truth, it's probably down to the fact that the diameter is lower than the other 15 pound lines that I've been trialling. and people do mention actually that you shouldn't refer to the breaking strain that's referenced on the packaging, and you should instead go along with the diameter of the line. And I would agree with that. I think that's definitely been a drawback to this line of, whilst it is thinner, it's kind of weaker, if I'm honest. So yeah, I mean, any line where you start suffering crack-offs with is a big no-no for me. And yes, you could fish with a leader to compensate for that, but in truth, if you're going to be fishing with a leader, then you're probably not going to want 15-pound main line. You're probably going to want to go to like a 12 or a 10-pound line, just so you get kind of even thinner line. And the other slightly strange issue that I've had with this line is, on quite a few occasions actually, it's started to wrap around my butt ring on the cast. So I'll be casting out, and it's almost as though like a loop of line just ends up wrapping around the butt ring, and it just kind of kills the cast, if you like. It doesn't catch or like bend the butt ring or anything like that, but it just kind of, it ruins your cast really. I've not had it with any other line, so I can only kind of conclude that it is the line itself that's causing that. Why? I couldn't tell you, but yeah, it's another drawback to the Avid line. So the last line I'm going to talk to you about is the Nash Bullet Mono. Again, a bit of information about this line. It's 20 quid a spool. It comes in breaking strains of 10, 12, 15 and 20 pound, but the version that I've been trying is the 15-pound version, which has a line diameter of 0.37 millimeters. So what's good about this line? First thing to mention is the colour, and like I said, colour is important to me. But what's nice about this line is it comes in two colour options. So they do a green or a brown, and that just means that you can match the colour of the line to the fishing situation that you find yourself in. Again, it's a confidence thing. I'm always kind of leaning towards green. I just think that kind of is the best colour for me in terms of all-round fishing situations, and so that's why I've kind of been trying the green. It sinks really, really well, this line, and it's also really good to cast, I've found. I've had no real issues with line twist either, and like all lines, and I've said before, it loads onto the spool really nicely. I think the other thing that's quite interesting about this line, and a nice little touch, is on the spool, and I'll provide a close-up to this. On the spool, it has like little guides, so it shows you when you've peeled off 250 meters of line, 500 and 750. So it just lets you know kind of how much of line's left on the spool, which is a nice touch. So what's not so good about this line? And in truth, not a lot. This is the line that I'm currently using at the moment, and I found it to be really, really good. I think the only thing I'd say that's maybe not so much a negative about the line, but in comparison to the other lines, I'd say it's not quite as abrasion resistant as the Syncro Loaded XT. So if you find yourself in kind of really snaggy situations where you're kind of needing to know that line isn't going to give out on you, then this maybe is not quite the one for you, and should be thinking about the Syncro Loaded XT instead. But other than that, it's been really, really good. Yeah, I'm really pleased with it. And in actual fact, I think I'll probably use this again. Yeah, it's been really, really good. So those are the three lines, but what would my recommendation be? And in honesty, all of these three lines are pretty decent. It's just that I think they lend themselves better to different situations. So if I was going to make a recommendation for the best all-rounder, that'd have to go to the ESP Syncro Loaded XT. But equally, if you're looking for a line to fish longer ranges, maybe you're fishing 100 yards plus, then I'd be saying to you, give the Nash Bullet Mono a try. And finally, if concealment's your ultimate goal, then, check out the Avid Outline Camo. So, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you found the video useful, and if you have, please hit the like button below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content like this.